air traffic controllers handling flights at Newark Airport experiencing another communications blackout early this morning. It comes after nearly 2 weeks of unprecedented delays at the New Jersey airport. CNN's Pete Montine is here. Pete, what do we know about how this happened again?
Well, thankfully, controllers are telling me that this happened in the middle of the night because this could have been a whole heck of a lot worse. This new meltdown at Newark Approach Control is just the latest in a troubling series of incidents. The FAA is now confirming or reporting that controllers at the facility lost radar displays and radio contact for about 90 seconds just before 4 this morning. That means they could not see where planes were or communicate with them. Very similar to the incident that happened 11 days ago. That blackout on April 28th caused 5 controllers to take what's called trauma leave, leading to staffing shortages and rolling flight delays at Newark. More than 1,000 flights canceled. A source familiar with this latest case tells me no new controllers took trauma leave, but they're understandably very upset because this is the most dangerous thing that can happen on the job, they tell me. I want you to listen to what a controller who was working this morning was able to broadcast to a flight when the radar scopes went down.
FedEx 1989, I hand you off here. Our scopes just went black again. If you care about this, contact your airline and try to get some pressure for them to fix this stuff. New York departure now, 120.8.
120.8, sorry to hear about that. FedEx 1989 switching, good luck guys.
Needs to be fixed yesterday, according to these controllers. Our reporting shows this has happened at least 3 times now. There was also an incident on November 6th where controllers lost contact with a FedEx flight which ultimately flew into the busy airspace over LaGuardia. A controller told me it was a miracle that there wasn't a mid-air collision in that case. Like with all the other incidents, the FAA says the source of this latest problem was a telecommunications outage. And yesterday, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy rolled out a plan to modernize air traffic control in the U.S., notably replacing old copper wire in 4,600 facilities with fiber optic cable. He insisted to me in an interview that this will take 3 to 4 years, but only if Congress gives the Trump administration all the money up front. Duffy said incidents like this highlight the need not just in Newark, but nationwide.
Can I ask, in Newark specifically, the rolling nature of this, what are we expecting next week?
It probably is not going to end really anytime soon. You know, the hope is that the FAA swoops in and fix this, and they've vowed to do some major fixes, including change the technology there and add a backup line so this doesn't happen with a lot of recency, a lot of repetition. But the big thing here is that this will probably continue through the summer, and we know these controllers are on leave for 45 days. We're only 11 days into that. There's also runway construction at Newark. They're down to 1 runway until June 15th. The big thing now, I would say for passengers, you're not in a lot of danger, but you may want to avoid Newark just because of the convenience here. And United Airlines is letting people change their flights at least into next week within a couple days of their original departure or connection with no big extra charges here, free of charge. And so you may want to take them up on that and avoid Newark for the time being.
Important tip, very important reporting, great reporting all
Thanks.
week. Pete, thanks so much. I want to bring in Billy Nolen. He was the acting FAA administrator under President Biden. He also served in the Army as a helicopter pilot and flew commercial planes for American Airlines. Really appreciate your time. Just based on the reports over the last 2 weeks and with this latest outage today, do you think it's safe for planes to be operating in and out of Newark?
Yeah, well, first, Phil, let me just say thank you for having me on. This is a crucial time. So bottom line up front, our airspace is safe, but it is at the same time fragile, as evidenced by, you have this one outage on the 28th, you have another one this morning at 3:55 approximately. So all of this just points to the work that the secretary has outlined, and I got to tell you, I'm a big supporter. For the first time, I think in my career that spans 45 years, you've had the secretary that brought together the 5 major airlines in the United States, labor, certainly the FAA, members, the Senate and the House, that says we're at this critical juncture. We continue to grow. This is a $1.6 trillion industry, 10 million associated jobs, right? We got to get this done. And so I think the timing is right. This is not something we want to talk about every night, at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock or early in the morning to say we've had another event. The American people expect more and they deserve more.
I think you're getting at this, but what I've been trying to figure out is who, if there's any singular entity, is to blame for this not being addressed earlier. Should this have been done when you were there during the Biden administration? Why Why now?
Absolutely. I could say it should have been done at every previous administration. You look back, right? What the secretary articulated yesterday is that some of this goes back three decades or more, right? You've got legacy copper systems. We've got, the FAA's got a lot of stuff in place at some of our very busiest airport, but there's still technology that's not there at, 400 other towers, if you will. We're still using paper strips. We got copper wiring. We've got, when we think about communication, we think about the critical aspects that makes our national airspace system safe. Of my 26 and a half years of flying, I was a captain for 16 of that. So I understand the burden of operating in the NAS, and you want to have the best equipment. Airlines have invested an awful lot of money. You got new entrants coming in. So I go back to say now is the time, and the secretary is on point here to say, look, we're going to exhibit strong leadership. We call on Congress to get this done. I know a lot of folks may talk about, do you give them money up front? We've got no time to lose. Yeah. I will tell you, when I was administrator, a $24 billion budget, about $5 million for infrastructure, about $3 million of that for upgrades, but it wasn't nearly enough.
CNN's investigative team reviewed safety reports, air traffic audio, other records. It revealed air traffic controllers really been raising alarms about Newark since last summer. One of the problems the report cited was that the FAA moved some air traffic controllers to a site in Philadelphia while keeping others on Long Island in response to staffing shortages. As a result, CNN found that within weeks, at least a half dozen controllers reported what they described as serious safety issues caused by failures to collaborate between the two locations about 100 miles apart. Can you shed any light on why the FAA may not have corrected course earlier?
Well, this is something the FAA, you think about how the FAA sort of, apportions and rationalize our national airspace. You want to get the maximum amount of efficiency. So I think from the FAA, from the leaders there, they felt like moving a part of this airspace to Philadelphia was going to allow them to be more efficient, right? But I got to tell you, it takes everybody working together. You expect labor to come to the table. You expect FAA to come to the table, DOT. And so bringing this together, we could point fingers all day long here within the agency, but the FAA felt they were doing the right thing, and I support them on that decision, right?
Right.
But now is the time for us to really kind of move forward here.
To the point, Megan, I definitely understand it. There's a 2022 FAA internal report that was obtained by CNN about the relocation plan. It concluded there was, quote, an extremely remote chance of an outage, and the overall risk of the plan was graded medium. You became the acting administrator right after that report was published. What did you see, and are you concerned about how people trust this system when stuff like that was available internally?
No, what we should continue to do. Now, remember, you've got, what are some really, really, strong professionals. Again, my 100% support for Secretary Duffy, my absolute support for Acting Administrator Chris Rochelle and that team there, right? You got what you got, so think about it, you're the captain of the team. These are the pieces you have, and you got to go make it work. And so that's what the FAA has been tasked with doing. And it's, to be quite honest, been this battle of incrementalism where you get a little bit of money this time, the next appropriation cycle, you got a little bit of money. We just got to cut all of that out. And this is really what Secretary called for. Let's make this is an investment in America. The best, we're the best country in the world. Should we not have the best air traffic control system in the world? So now's the time to get the right. And you've just seen this overwhelming outpouring of support to go make that happen.
Billy Nolen, appreciate your time, your perspective. Thanks so much.